It's David Arquette, Dewey from the Scream movies, as you know. Remember, there's only one rule to surviving a horror movie, and that's subscribing to Craven Something Scary.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, visitors, subscribers, and of course, my amazing Cravenites, otherwise known as my patrons. Welcome to Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. And tonight is a very special night I've been looking forward to for quite some time now to have my wonderful guest, Zack back on the channel again. It's always a great time. And we're normally just talking Scream 7 or Scream 6 or Scream in general, which is a blast. But we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. But we also have something very special to talk about, which is Zack's own upcoming horror short film, Macabre. And I cannot wait to get into it with him and with you guys as well. And in the meantime, though, before we start, I want to remind you all that super chats are available to be sent via PayPal. So if you have a PayPal, simply send it in to mental. It's at mental relaxation. Is me? That's me. You'll see a ghost face picture, and I know Sarah and Val and Julie and are moderating the chat tonight, and we'll be putting the reminders in the chat for you as well. And I have it on the ticker at the bottom of the screen just in case you forget. At mental relaxation. As with any case, super chats move to the front of the line, and we'll make sure that we get your question or comment to Zack up before the stream ends. That's my promise to you. And my PayPal is open now so that I will get notified if and when you do so. Also, if you want to become a Cravenite while we're streaming and support the channel through Patreon, I would greatly appreciate it. And it's simply patreon.com/ Craven Something Scary. Blanked for a second. All together, and that will take you right to my Patreon page where you can see the different levels I have of 5 levels of membership with different tiers or perks, I should say. And would love to have you there, and it'll be a great time. And it'd be great to have you as an official Cravenite. All right. But before I bring Zack on, just want to say a blanket hello to the chat, to all of everyone that's here. And also, tonight you're going to see a lot of links in the chat. And we have a real special link tonight, which is the Kickstarter for Zack's film. And we want to make sure that if you have the ability to do so, to donate to the Kickstarter, it would be amazing. And I would greatly appreciate it as well. And we'll get to as many questions as possible. But as you guys know, in a stream like this, we won't get to everyone's comments or questions. So please don't take it personal. It's just a matter of time, okay? But as I mentioned earlier, Super Chats will guarantee it. Otherwise, we'll do the best that we can. And we see a lot of folks here, a lot of new names here. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. Joe, RJ, Sarah, Russell, Val, of course. Horror by Jordy is here. Great to see you. Eric, who's also involved in the project in a very big way. Zack will share more about. Good to see you here. Who else? Kevin is here. Silent Saturn as well. Spoof. And Spoof, I want to say thank you so much for becoming a patron. Spoof is our newest Cravenite, and I saw your on our last stream we did. I saw afterwards that you had joined the Patreon. So, Spoof, thank you for that. Much appreciated. Melissa's here as well. Good. Gina is here. Great, great, great. Thanks, guys, for turning out tonight for this what's going to be an awesome stream. Okay. Hey, Gene. Good to see you as well. May Ann, of course, is here. Hello, May Ann. All right, Oliver, Nathaniel, great. So good to see you guys all here. This is great. Um, okay, I think that's everyone. Jason Dyer. Hey, Jason. Good to see you, buddy. Okay, I believe I've caught up. But yeah, be sure and welcome Spoof to the Cravenite family, guys, for sure. All right, one second. Didn't want to cough in your ear. That's very rude. Hey, Casey. Casey's here as well. All right, guys. Well, listen, let's not delay anymore. I think I got everything covered. Said hello to everybody. And my guest again is no stranger to the channel. And I believe this is his, at least his fourth appearance. It could be his fifth, but no less than four. And it's always a pleasure to have him on and to chat with him every time we get the chance to do it. And I know you guys always look forward to it as well. So please welcome, guys, once again, Mr. Zack Cherry. Hey, Zack, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Steven. Hey, everybody. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for
Sweet.
making the time, man. It's
Yeah, I believe this is fourth time.
I think you're right. Yep, it is the fourth time. So hey, man, that's awesome. We're going to be continuing to tally up the appearances as time goes. And Sarah is putting in the link here. Here we go. Become a Macabre today and support the Kickstarter. There it is, guys.
That's what we call ourselves. Yeah.
Macabros. I love it. I love it. This is the link that you can click and go and support the movie. Go support the movie. And so let's kind of. What's that?
Yes, please.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Guys, let's do it. I mean, let's show up tonight and do it. And really, it would be amazing because I know that Zack. I mean, I know what Zack likes in terms of like some of the films, and it has me excited. So let me back up. And Zack, let me just first ask you, the movie is Macabre, and tell me how did this, there you go.
Yeah.
How did this all begin for you, man? Is this something that you've had an idea for a long time, or did it just hit you that I want to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going on 3 years now, and my co-writer, co-director Eric Champney, who I believe is in the chat,
yes,
right now, he's watching. He's not too far whenever we do these things, but we came up with an idea that it was. Yeah, about 3 years ago, we were, he was a guest on my podcast. And, we got to talking about, certain things that, we wanted to see in slasher movies, or just things that would kind of, like, that were different, that, like we're still kind of the tropes that were evocative of what you would see, but in a way that's like, let's see something new. I want to see, like, it feels like everything that's coming out nowadays in terms of slashers is just sort of like this idea of just, like the requeling of things. And it's just like more of a retread of stuff that we've already seen. And there's like, we have some ideas that, haven't necessarily been explored. And, we started talking about those, and it was more of like, not that it wasn't serious or not, but it was just more of like in a more like joking way, like what would be good here, what would be good there. And that's not to say that this is like satirical or anything, but it was more of just like, yeah, we're going to make a movie. Or at least that was probably my perception of it. I can't speak for Eric in that regard, because, this was a reoccurring conversation that we would have over the next 2 years. And then finally one day Eric was just like, well, let's stop talking about it and let's do it. Let's write the script for this. And so we did. We started doing that. Eric flew up here. I'm in Calgary, Canada. He's in New York. So, we coordinated that. We started writing the script. And it was one of those things where we'd already had the concept. So it was sort of like putting, like, where do you start? And it's, there's a lot of like growing pains with that. It's just like Eric will attest to that, where we wrote like absolute bullshit and then would like go back and laugh at it, and we still do. But then it finally got, we kind of got our pace. We watched a lot of movies, anything that was our favorites, to really draw inspiration. And I think that one thing that I've noticed with a lot of movies nowadays, horror movies, well, really anything, is that they really want to try to recreate a brand or a flavor of something. It's just like there's a specific thing, like like Scream. It's just like especially at the time that Scream came out, where everything was like, how do we want to be Scream? Let's do it, but let's make it Scream. And the thing is, like, even though there was a lot of great stuff coming out following Scream, none of it was quite what Scream was. Like, it was missing the secret ingredient that Wes Craven brought to it, or whatever, that the component or the essence of what made it so special. Like what you and I or anybody watching right now would, grow up with these movies, and they would watch them and just really connect with them on like a more meaningful level. And studios nowadays, they just sort of, they like process what they think it is, and it's all like surface level things, and it just, whatever the product is, it it might be good, it might look good, but it feels like it's lacking. So we just watched a lot of movies and kind of delved into the essence of what it was that made those movies so special to us. And once we kind of hit that component, we just sort of ran with it, and like suddenly we just were writing like pages and pages of stuff. And the great thing about Eric and me as collaborators on this is that we don't always agree on the same things. So there'll be times where I'll write something and he's just, I don't get it. I'm not on board with this. And then I'll have to either like try to explain it to him and get him to see it that way, or he'll push back and then get me to see, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. And then we kind of find like a nice balance of just like what essentially makes it better. And I know that there's a lot of movies out there that have multiple writers on them, and you just hear about how, oh, we agreed, like every idea that we had, we went off into separate rooms and we came back and we're like, that's what I was going to do. And it's like this idea, then why are there two of you? And that's like, what's so great about Eric is because he challenges me and I challenge him. And that's, how we were able to get what we, essentially have right now. And from there, it was just a matter of, okay, we have this idea. We know it's really good. We know that people are really going to love it. Like there's no question in either of our minds that people are really going to love the movie that we are making, but it's just a matter of like, how do we make it? And Eric has already made 2 award-winning films previous to this, which he's produced with Randy Baruso, who is his executive producer partner. He has his own production company, Historic House Productions. So they've done the films Tuesday and The Screens together. So we talked to Randy, and we kind of all agreed that, okay, what we need to do is make a short film version of Macabre. And from there, what we'll do is we will, take it to film festivals and all that and get attention to it, get eyes on it. So then we can, the right person, the right producer or studio or whomever will be like, this is really good. We want to turn this into a theatrical release movie. And that is our long-term goal with Macabre.
Wow. So you've already got, even though this is going to be a short film, kind of a teaser, if you will, you already have a full script or screenplay in mind, story-wise, for a full-length feature. You've got that. You guys have worked that out. Okay.
Yeah. And the short film is not a condensed version of that. And this was really important when we sort of made this decision, that the short film was going to, in essence, be the opening scene. And the reason why we really liked the idea of that is because there's a lot of crazy stuff in the body of the movie, and like we didn't want to like spoil that or just like have it present in the scene that we want to do. And what's great about the opening scene is that it's very much an ode to like Scream, just in terms of like the opening scene of Drew Barrymore, and just sort of going back to this idea of just having like a really intense prologue that just sort of sets the story in motion, because we don't really see a whole lot of that nowadays. Like even if you go back to like the entire genre and just try to like, like pick out like what are 10 really like groundbreaking opening scenes, or just like opening scenes that were really well executed or that you remember. And there's a lot of really good ones, but there's not, it feels like it's not really a priority for a lot of horror movies, and especially nowadays. So we really wanted to kind of go back to that idea. And, especially knowing that Wes Craven, when he was hired to do Scream, he was afraid that they were going to can him. He didn't think that he had the job locked in. So he shot the opening scene first so he could show the studio in the dailies, just like, this is what this is going to be. This is what we're capable of. So in a sense, like the opening of Scream is like how Wes Craven did it, was sort of like a proof of concept to just be like, hey, I've got this. We're gonna make the whole film. I'm gonna direct it. So that's what we want to do. We want to show this opening scene. It's going to be a proof of concept to make the entire film. And what's great about it is that it's a standalone story because it is an opening scene, but it's also the prologue to the full feature. So it kind of like, acts as these two different things. So you're not going to see it and feel like you're missing out on something, but you're also not going to see it and feel like, okay, I get the gist of it, because there's a lot of surprises in the full feature.
Ooh, wow, that's awesome, man. So this is the short film. It then is basically, like you say, the opening scene. And I love that you compare it to the Drew Barry scene, because you're right. I mean, the Weinsteins were like, they were like wanting to pull the plug on the movie. And I remember the story, you touched on it. Wes basically stayed up all night long, editing, getting it ready to, getting the opening scene done to the Weinsteins to look at it. And of course, when they saw it, they were, that was it. They were immediately convinced. And that will be awesome, man, to see that type of effect for you here. And like I'm anticipating, watching this opening scene, and when it's done, I'm gonna be like, no, you can't stop there. You're killing me. We got to keep going. And I love the idea. And you mentioned Scream a few times as an influence, of course, which is understandable. So in terms of, and again, if I'm getting too close to spoiler line, reel me in, okay? But in terms of, is this more of a we never see the killer, or is this going to be kind of like a masked killer, like a Scream, like a ghost face, a figure, someone that we do see but we don't see them, or they're in a costume? Or is it going to be someone that maybe you don't show their face, or you don't, they're not in costume, but
like a Michael Myers?
Yeah, you don't exactly. So I'm just curious, like, what you're.
No, that's a fair question. Oh, it's absolutely like, so the movie itself is like, it's inspired by Scream, and like not necessarily just Scream, but like the slashers of the 90s, just sort of like that, this bygone era, like the films that like I grew up with and really responded to. So that could be like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legends, Valentine. But we also, like, Eric and I also really love Italian horror and giallo films, especially. And there's like so there's kind of callbacks to 90s, but also 80s and 70s, just in terms of like stylistically what the movie is. And I mean, like, a lot of those 90s slashers are like, in essence, they're kind of giallo films, but just made with more of like a contemporary for the time tone, and characters that are just more up to date and things like that. So we're like wanting to focus on the story elements and the characters. I feel like a lot of movies nowadays, like there's almost this need to sort of like instill the idea of like the time that we live in, which I feel like is the worst thing you could do, because it makes your movie like it dates it, like, you know, like you watch it 10 years later and like, okay, well, this is already, you know, out of date. And I, you know, people say that about Scream as well, just because of the phone technology. But I think I don't see Scream that way. Like, I look beyond that, because that's just one piece of technology, and it's not really it's not the story, it's not the characters. Like, we're going back to, you know, somewhere where like, this is important, this is at the forefront. We want to focus on the things that actually make the story go like tick, and just like become innately more interesting, rather than like, we do have a concept, and that's really fun, but the concept is just sort of like, it's the thing that's driving the plot. The characters and what is happening is really the heart of it. So we don't want to lose that, because, you know, that was part of like our homework of watching movies. It's just like, why do we like this so much? Why do we watch, like, you know, a movie like Hellraiser, which was, you know, one of the things we watched, and we were like, oh, I really like Ashley Lawrence in that, and her character, and just like, she's not in it a whole lot, but there's just something about her that's just like, that's one thing. It's just like, what do we, you know, like, how do we make a character like that? Not exactly her, but just like, why is she so timeless? Or like a Ginny, who's my favorite from the Friday the 13th franchise. Like, characters like that, who just, they're so memorable. They live on way past their movies. And, you know, it's things like that we want in the villains, the stories, and just like the dialogue too is another thing that's really important. So we're kind of keyed into so many elements of you know, what we want to see, but it's not like going to be executed in a way where it's like really like bloated and there's all these things going on. It's just like more of a way to like, how do we make this like cohesive within the context of the story that's being told? And what's so great about, you know, us doing this and doing it through Kickstarter is that we have full creative control over it. So, you know, like most movies nowadays, where, you know, a studio or executives are going to be like, well, you're not like checking these boxes, or I feel that we need a little bit more of this and that. And then essentially it's just like, you have a situation where there's too many cooks in the kitchen, too many people telling you, you know, how a movie needs to be, when really like the vision lies within the writer, directors. And what's great about having Kickstarter in this sense is that we have that opportunity now to do that, and essentially not have any interference, and make exactly the movie that we see with our vision. And so far, like, so many people have helped us. Like, we're funded for our initial goal, which is amazing. Like, there's so many dedicated people who have just really backed, like really believed in this movie and this campaign, and, you know, have faith in Eric and myself and everyone else on our team. And it's just like, it's kind of like I have to pinch myself to remember that. But it's like one of those things that this is happening now, and we get to do this. And, you know, now we're at the point where it's just like, we want to make sure that it's even better. We want to make sure that it's the best quality proof of concept that it can be. So when we submit it to those film festivals, and you know, someone at, you know, who knows, like A24, for instance, or Neon, it could be there and sees it, and just like, that we need that movie. Oh, I can't.
There we go. It's me. I was muted. I was just saying that's fantastic, and it's absolutely in the realm of possibility, man. I mean, it could definitely happen. And the fact that you have hit your core budget, and now you're working on your stretch goals, to add and enhance even more. So let's tell, maybe you could help share. I know we talked about it already a little bit, but I'd like to hear from them, to hear it from you. Yeah. So, you know, some people may hear, oh, we've hit our core goal, we're done, no reason for me to donate. And that's the farthest thing from the truth, because in these stretch goals, all these things do are continue to enhance and to to make this even better. So maybe you can just share, like, for those who are wondering how their donation may help as towards stretch goals. What does that look like, or potentially for the movie?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, right now, we're like with hitting our core goal, which we set relatively low. Like we had conversations with our executive producer Randy and like really mapped it out, and $40,000 seemed to be the most appropriate thing because it's just taking into consideration just like the costs of like everybody, like actors, the crew, creative team involved, art direction, post-production, which is like a huge portion of that as well. Like there were so many elements, so that we kind of like under budgeted in a way, just to like get a more conservative number for Kickstarter. But then what Kickstarter, how it works is that there are Kickstarter fees as well. So we're like, yeah, we've got $40,000, but then it's like, oh wait, we have to give them part of that, and it also goes to Stripe. So really, we have like 36,000 now. But it's like, I try to look at that positively. Like we have $36,000.
That's right.
That has gone to funding this film. So we do need more. So it does get to that 40,000 mark, like outside of that. But then beyond that, there are many things like, the crew that I work with are just like, they're very talented. They're good at doing what they are doing, and making movies that crackle and look professional. But there are certain things that we could do to enhance that. Like this is a horror movie. There is violence involved, and with that there comes stunts. So our first stretch goal, which we will unlock at $50,000, so just 10,000 or just over 9,000 away at this point. We'll see a professional Hollywood stunt coordinator come onto our set and work with us. This is someone that knows Randy, our executive producer. So his name is David LaValle Jr. He's worked on films such as Free Guy. He did the Daredevil TV series, the new West Side Story. So he's been around the block, and with David on set, what we'll be able to do is accomplish like more realistic action while keeping everyone safe, because that's our main priority. But there's so much more that we can do to kind of like enhance it. Like, if you see a low budget film, you might see things and be like, well, that didn't look real. And not that that the crew that we have would ever allow that to happen, but with our stunt coordinator David, we'll be able to even go beyond that and do like wild stunts that look incredible and look very realistic and are horrifying, but also while keeping everyone safe. So that is our first stretch goal. That also will include submission costs for film festivals, because these things are not cheap. You apply to them. There's a small fee to pay, and we want to get Macabre into as many film festivals as possible to get, as just extend its reach, and that will only ensure that like more people will see it, the right people will see it. So that's going to include the travel costs to these festivals as well, because we as a production team should be there to meet and network with these people as well, to help the process go along. So there's a lot involved with that. That's probably like the most important, just right out the gate, of just like the initial production of the short film, just to have all that. But beyond the first stretch goal, our next stretch goal, which is $75,000, will be to construct a practical set for what we're doing. Because right now, the short film, or the opening of Macabre, takes place in an art gallery, and we're currently scouting locations. This is something that we're just working on today and having conversations with. So that's something that Randy and our other executive producer Juan are going to be working towards. But it might be a case, because we have a very specific vision, where we're going to have to use multiple locations to sort of then use movie magic to make it seem like it's one location. But on top of that, just because there is a stunt involved in this that we want to have our stunt coordinator for, we can make it even better if we're able to build part of this set practically and then add that into like all the different locations that are going to be formed together to make this. So that is another thing that's really going to help out production. And then our final goal, because for the short film, like there's not a lot that we need to accomplish outside of that, because it is, it's just the short film, but we still want to put money into the bank for the feature. So at $100,000, like any of that money that like we earn over top of that, that's given to us through crowdfunding support, is going to go towards the feature, and primarily towards the Scream Queen, a very specific actress that we want to have in our movie, because that's how well Eric and I have planned this, that we've written the role for someone very specific in mind, which unfortunately I can't tell you who that is, but it's someone who we really love. I know that everyone else does as well. So this is something that, as a proof of concept, we're going to want to show to her. We're going to want to get the script to her, and we're going to want to present an offer. And with whatever we get from studios or investors who want to help us make this a feature-length film, it's also going to be beneficial to have that money in the bank to also go towards that. I'm also just understanding that during this, we have had a new backer. So if you don't mind, I'd love to
absolutely
show them out. So thank you to Dale, who's pledged $25. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Dale.
Fantastic.
Every little bit helps, and it really goes a long way.
That's so awesome, man. Yes. And again, guys, if you're able to support the project, I would greatly appreciate it as well, that we support Zack. He's a friend of the channel, friend of mine, and just a great guy that I love spending time with. And seriously, man, so I want nothing but success for this project, for you and the team. So yeah, guys, if you're out there and you're available to or able rather to do so, like as Zack said, every amount matters. Right, every amount matters and counts and makes a difference in this kind of project. So yeah, it really does. So please continue to do so as we're sharing the information. Zack's opening up, and there's the link again to click.
Thank you, Sarah. And with your support, there are a lot of rewards that come along with this as well. So it's you're also getting things in return. So I mean, for the $25 tier, which is what Dale just pledged, that is giving you digital access. So you're going to get to have the movie digitally, as well as all the special features, which include like our commentaries, cast and crew interviews, behind the scenes footage, like so much more. And the movie, because the movie isn't going to be available publicly outside of this Kickstarter campaign or for the film festival. So as this is going on, like we will like keep people updated about where it's going to be playing and when you can go see it. But as far as we're concerned, it's just like this is the proof of concept to make the feature length film, and this is nothing out of the ordinary. Smile, for instance. That was a short film, which, it's still not like available other than, I believe, the physical media release of it. Like you can't find it online. But that is, how they got that movie made. And now if you want to watch it, I believe it's a special feature on the physical media. But that's just, that's how this process goes. So, for anyone who does want to support, and you don't, have a lot to give, because I know that there's people who have like given quite a bit and it's intimidating, but at the low end, you're essentially pre-ordering the movie to watch. So, I tell people that it's like, you want to order a movie, like it's the same thing as like, if you order a Blu-ray or 4K through like a boutique distributor. It's
Yeah.
digital. You'll get it eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. There's also the link is up there, but you'll see all the different things we have. There's the posters for the movie. If you don't mind, I'll show them because I got
Please.
everything right there. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So this was the
Man, that's so
infamous
cool.
poster art, which was designed and illustrated by Matthew Tarian, who's just a brilliant artist. You could find him on Instagram, mt_illustration. You probably recognize a lot of his work if you don't know him already. So this is a reward that's available with it. There we go, up on the screen. Thank you.
Yeah, there it is.
And with this, like what we wanted to do is really like kind of evoke the feeling of a bygone era of horror. Of there's a lot of like 80s and Italian here, but
yes,
there's interesting things going on here, but it's not necessarily indicative of like what the horror is in the movie. It's just more of just like the vibe, or if you think about like, remember like the old James Bond posters where there was like, you'd see characters on there just like, that's not anyone in the movie, and it's like, no, it's just sort of like it's creating the vibe of it.
Wow, yeah, it's a very interesting poster. There's a lot here to look at. Like I say, it does have that 70s Italian vibe. I picked that right away, and man, just the hands, the feathers. There's a lot going on, and I think it looks fantastic. Great choice of colors, everything. It's great. So, yeah, this is one of the things you can get as a donator, or a Macabre, as we're calling them, and donating to the project.
Yeah,
okay?
We've also got because I don't think you have it, but there's a red variant as well, which is an exclusive add-on. So if anyone likes red as well, that's something that you can add to your pledge order. But
nice.
We've also got the t-shirts, which I'm wearing right now. We've got also by Matthew Tarian storyboards. So they're like little lobby cards, or just the sketches to give you an idea of like what you're going to be seeing like in the movie. Of just like like images like that in the art gallery.
Wow. Yeah.
And we also have the script, which is going to be available to backers at the deluxe tier. And then aside from that, there's also you can get credited in the movie. There's the option for special thanks credit, so your name will be immortalized on screen in the movie. And we also have producer tiers as well, so associate producer, co-producer, and executive producer. And with those, you're going to be credited on IMDb as well. So I mean, if you ever wanted to be credited on IMDb, I've never had an IMDb credit. So, I'm excited about that, but that will be a associate producer tier reward. Co-producers will get early access to the movie. So as soon as we're done post-production, you're going to get to see it. And then executive producers, as well as getting that early access, they're also going to be invited to our production meetings via Zoom. Wow. So there's 8 spots. We've already got 2 of those filled. But for anyone who's, really interested in filmmaking yourselves, or just, don't know where to start, or, kind of want to explore this avenue, this is a great opportunity to do it. Like the 2 people that we have on our executive producer list already, like are really excited for that, and specifically wanted to kind of get a front row seat to that process. So I'm really excited for them.
Yeah. What a neat opportunity. That's that's not something you're going to find every day. Yeah, that's really, really cool. And our good friend Joe over at Dream Insomniacs says, "Hey guys, love you, Craven and Zack, 2 of my favorite podcast guests.
Thanks, Joe.
Happy to be backing Macabre the movie." All right.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, so let's talk about casting a little bit. Have you already scouted for your your cast? Or are you still working on who's going to be in the beginning of the film?
Yeah, we have everyone. Everyone has already been hired in terms of that. If you go to our the campaign page, or even our social media, because we like roll out cast and crew bios. So we've already cast it. So we've got 3 actors: China Peruccio, Siobhan Hampton, and Harvey Lipman. And if you want to, we've already done live streams already where they've joined us. So you can still go back and watch them. But if you head over to my YouTube channel, this Monday night, we're going to be live streaming. Both China and Siobhan are going to be there, as well as Randy and Eric and myself. So
Nice.
we've been planning. We've been doing live streams weekly, and also if you're following me or the Macabre account on Instagram, we do Instagram lives throughout the week as well. So that's a great way to meet the cast. But all of that is set. We have our director of photography. We even have our composer for post-production. And as I told you, like we're already talking to our props guy. Like we're having a meeting on Sunday. So just like the ball's rolling. Like this is it's funny because like sometimes I have to explain to people like this isn't just a like me taking a camcorder into like the backyard with a bottle of ketchup. Like there's professionals on this team, and they know what they're doing, and we've got the whole thing locked in and ready to go, especially now that we've hit our initial goal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Now, in terms of directing, because you and Eric, right, are basically kind of hand in hand on this as far as the story and direction, right? And we've seen Radio Silence with Matt and Tyler direct together and make a good team. What is the dynamic between the two of you from a director's perspective? Like, have you guys already kind of gone through like, well, I'm going to see this scene do this, and like you were talking about earlier, how you kind of like are good for each other because you push and push each other in different ways. When it comes to directing the scenes, do you feel like you guys have your clear set? Or are you going to just like get in there, feel the moment, and see where your gut takes you, basically?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Because Eric has experience directing, I don't. So he's kind of he's going to be almost the teacher in this case, but we've already kind of gone through the process of things. And yes, like you said before, it's a case where we have a united vision. And there's going to be disagreements, but we're already like our interest is always what is the movie's best interest. So it's always going to come to a point where like we might have to compromise. But I've never been in a position where I've been upset that I had to compromise, because there's always a reason for it. Like I don't just compromise to make people happy. Like Eric can do a really good job of convincing me of why something is important, and vice versa. I can do that for him as well. So with the direction part of it, I mean, we're already planning. Like we've started doing our shot list, so we know specifically like what the vision is going to be when we talk to our director of photography. We're going to be doing rehearsals with the cast, so all of this is going to kind of be preordained in a way. So then when we do get to the set, because this is probably going to be like a 3 or 4 day shoot, we're just going to be good to go, and everything will have already been planned out.
Nice. So there, it's basically you've done the walkthroughs, or if you will, and it's just a matter of turning on the cameras and let's execute. Yeah,
pretty much.
Now, do you have you estimated how long this short film will be? The opening scene, are we looking at like 15 minutes, 10 minutes? What are you thinking?
I'd say it's probably like in between there. Scream's
Okay.
opening scene is 13 minutes, and
Yep.
you know, not that like page per minute is ever indicative of how long a movie is, because sometimes there's, you know, one page could last really long, sometimes it could go by really quickly. So I think that, you know, we've meticulously plotted this out. It does
Yeah.
feel very much like it would be the same length of like the opening scene of Scream.
Okay. Ooh.
Mhm.
Wow. Oh man, this is exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Now the person that tell us about your composer who you have doing the music. Kind of, is there a certain feel or vibe you're asking for, or are you kind of saying, hey, look, here's, read this, envision this, and then surprise me? Like, what is your, where your feelings taking you with this
Yeah, for
scene?
sure. I mean, well,
Hmm.
if Eric is still in the chat and he wants to speak to this, he might have a better answer to that than I do. But Merrick Smith, our composer, I've never met him. He's a good friend of
Okay.
Eric, he's known for many years. And from what Eric has told me about Merrick, is that, you know, he's someone that he, you know, will read a script. He's read our script and can just tap into the vibe of exactly what we need. And you know, he did
Hmm.
this for Eric's first film, Tuesday, where he got the script and then within like a half an hour, he got back to him with like a tune and just like, this is what I hear for the movie. And it's
Nice.
just like he just like instinctively knows what's there. And as Eric has explained to me, as a composer, Merrick can do anything. He can make any sound that we need. So
Hmm.
for us, like there's definitely a you know, we want to kind of tap into, just because we're, you know, really focusing on like the styles of like, you know, the 80s and
Yeah.
Italian cinema. Of course, there's going to be like a grandiosity to the score, but also like, you know, like a very like low creepiness to it. Like we really want to kind of go back to that era. You know, it's for me specifically, a film score, like especially a horror film score, is one of the most important elements, because even
Yep.
if it's not, you know, something that you particularly remember, or like, you know, you can sing in your head, like, you know, Halloween or The Exorcist, it really enhances the mood, and us especially to know when to have a score and when to not use a score as well.
Yeah.
So that's something that Merrick is really good at doing, and I think that, you know, all my favorite horror movies, like that I could list off the top of my head, have scores that are just like very iconic and memorable. So you know, we
Hmm.
want to make sure, you know, I don't think we'll have the full scope of it just for the short film, but you know, we
Sure.
have every
Sure.
intention of bringing our team with us to the next step of making a feature. So all the people that are involved in the short film, as far as I'm concerned, should be involved in the feature as well, because this is still like a very
Yeah.
much like an independent project.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Eric did chime in. He's still here. He said Merrick can do anything in
Yeah.
capitals. So, uh, and Joe brings up a good point too. A good score is incredibly important for building emotion and suspense. Yeah, it definitely plays a factor. But you said something interesting too, Zach.
Mhm.
And I found this to be true in many films. Sometimes not knowing those moments where the music stops and it's just
Mhm.
silence in the background. It's all there's no, and
Yeah.
that brings its own uh, suspense and build to it. And like you say, it's knowing when to do that, when not to. Those are all very important things, but they all can both be used effectively for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause there's also sound design as well, and you can, you know, drown
that's
out the
right.
music and just let that be the thing that builds tension. And this is, I mean, this is a scene that is going to have a lot of suspense. There's, you know, going to be a chase in it as well. Like it's, you know, kind of fully packed. And I think that, you know, even within the scope, like I was talking about it with Eric today, regardless of like it being a short film or not, it's the kind of scene that would probably be the most expensive set piece of the whole movie, regardless, like as a
Hmm.
feature. So that's why it's so important for us to make sure that we get it right this first time, because
Sure.
we want to be able to, I'm sure that there will be adjustments in the future, but we want to, get it as pitch perfect as possible. And that's what the stretch goals are all about.
Absolutely. And everyone, listen, again, if you have the ability to become a Macabre and become a part of the team, you can do so right now on Zach and Eric's Kickstarter. It's right here. The link is in the chat that I've just highlighted. You can click it and go right to it. And as Zach mentioned earlier, amazing perks that you'll get depending on each level. Every level has great stuff. There's not a bad level, let me tell you.
And you can also, I mean, we've had people, like, you can donate any dollar amount you want without a reward. So we've had people throw $1 in, and it's like, that's awesome. Like, and like I said, any bit helps, because that goes towards, like the craft services, because, we have a team that we have to feed during this process too. And the wonderful thing about Kickstarter is that it's all or nothing. So obviously we've hit our campaign goals. So we're past that point, but just because of the very nature of it, Kickstarter doesn't withdraw any funds from people's accounts until after the campaign is ended. So in this case, that's going to be September 5th. So essentially, if you want to support the project now, but you're just like, oh, I don't know how much money I have to wait till next week, or it's like, I'm going to wait till I get paid next week, or something like that, that's not an issue, because you can go in and you can pledge right now, and none of that is withdrawn. It's not until the campaign is over. So that's actually would be a huge boon to us, because the more that the campaign can grow, like the more that it trends in terms of like Kickstarter's algorithm, and just seeing that, and anything that we can get right now to really get those numbers up is going to get more eyes on the project and more people contributing. And there's very little risk. It's not going to be withdrawn from your accounts until September 5th. So like 2 weeks from now.
That's right. That's a great point, because, there could be some folks out there that are like, man, I really want to donate, but, I don't get paid for 2 weeks until another 2 weeks from now, or what have you. And so there you go. September 5th, guys, is when, I thank Sarah for putting that in the chat as well. A reminder is when it comes out. So you can plan ahead for it now to have the funds. So it's definitely something I'd ask that you guys would continue to do. And all those who are watching this, because there'll be a lot of people watching this, Zach, on replay that couldn't make it tonight live, but they will be here, or they will watch it rather, in the coming days. And that's the other thing I wanted to mention too. As people do watch this in replay, right after the stream ends, how many days left do we have on the campaign? It's 13, right?
I believe so. I was a little busy the last day and a half, so I haven't really been looking at the campaign page as much. But I believe it's just under 2 weeks. So you're probably right in terms of 13. Yep. I'm just checking right now.
Yep, I just pulled it up as well. Yeah, it is 13. There it is, 13 days.
Excellent. And
so
yeah. And another thing I wanted to say is that, like, this is, outside of just like supporting creators directly, through Kickstarter, and just, seeing, like, having a, pure creative vision that's, untainted by any sort of production meddling. You're also going to be contributing to the creation of new original horror. And I know that that's something that's really important to a lot of people right now, because there are a lot of people who are frustrated with the, the constant, like, going back and just like doing like remix or sequels or requels. And, obviously we love those as well. But, a lot of people are like, well, we could maybe, like, let's do less and have more original horror, because a lot of people are responding to that right now. So this is a great opportunity to get original horror out there.
Yep, 100%. This is a way to support that, something original, new, and fresh, and familiar though too. And that's
And
what's
as
cool about it.
Joe W is saying in the chat, this is horror made for fans by fans.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. And it's not fan fiction because we're not doing a franchise that already exists. It's not like a Scream 5 or a Scream 6. Like it's just a brand new concept and a brand new slasher movie.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Well, I'm excited.
Thank you.
I'm very excited. And so guys, listen, we're going to start wrapping up now. We want to be respectful of Zack's time. He's got a lot going on, as you guys know, getting ready for this film and his own channels. And there are links in the chat to subscribe to Zack's channels as well. Of course, the Zack Cherry channel on YouTube and his Cherry Picker channel as well. And what do you have some new content coming up for Cherry Picker soon, or down the road?
Yeah, well, we like to cover a Friday the 13th movie every time we get to a Friday the 13th. So there is one coming up in September. So that's going to be the final chapter that we're going to be covering. Edward and I, like my podcast co-host, we haven't really discussed a schedule for September other than that. So we still got to plan it. Things are a little uncertain right now just because the coming months, there's so much involved with the pre-production and the production of the Macabre that there might be a lot of Edward and I pre-recording podcasts and then releasing them as the weeks go on, because that's probably going to be easiest with my schedule.
Yes.
But outside of Friday the 13th, the final chapter, I do not have an answer for you. I'm sure that there's going to be some Halloweens in there because, we like to cover Halloween every October as well. But that's all I can say for now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I have to ask you as we begin to wrap up, and I know I do see the links. Good. Thanks, guys, for continuing to post these links here in the chat. So I got to ask you this, just a little Scream talk, really quick Scream talk. Tell us again your ranking of the 6 Scream films. Again, just not what's worst, it's just what's your most favorite to least favorite.
No, that's fair.
What would you say?
So my favorite is Scream 2. Which also, Scream 2 is like that. Out of all the Scream movies, like Macabre is probably the most heavily influenced by Scream 2. Like we had a list of just like the movies that sort of, that we tapped into the essence of the most that we wanted from Macabre. So Scream 2 is my favorite. Scream very close underneath, and that's Scream 1996. Then I would say Scream 3. Then I would say Scream 4, but I prefer the all of the extra scenes put back in there. So gotcha. It's not an official cut, but I like the context of having the extra content in there of just like the scenes with Jill and everything that was removed. Then Scream 5, and then Scream 6. So it's pretty much like 2 and then in order of release.
Okay, nice. Yeah. All right. And then real quick for Scream 7, obviously not a lot of details out, but we do know that Sidney Prescott is back front and center, and Kevin Williamson, of course, is returning as his first time to direct a Scream film. And I just have a hunch, and this is my own personal thoughts and feelings on it, but I think it's a real possibility that this is going to have a Wes Craven-ish feel like the classic Scream movies that I love. Yeah. And what are your thoughts on that, with Sidney being back as the main protagonist?
Yeah, I really hope so, because I know that Kevin Williamson himself, he favors the first 2 movies. I know he doesn't have high opinions of, I don't know what he thinks about 3, but I know that he's had a lot of issues with 4, and obviously he's worked as an executive producer on 5 and 6. But knowing that he's 1 and 2 are important to him, like it's good that hopefully there will be more influence of those movies.
Yes.
In terms of Sydney, I met Nev Campbell back in April, and I didn't really like. I'm sure she couldn't have even said anything if she wanted to, but I don't know. I'm kind of keeping myself clear of any sort of news or speculation or anything.
Okay.
I'm glad that Sydney is coming back. I'm glad that there's going to be more of a focus on her character, because I feel that since the end of 3, she didn't really have much to do in 4 or 5, and she wasn't in 6. There is a little bit of trepidation that I have, because it's almost like her story. While I don't like to ever say like her story's done, like it was finished. So there's kind of like the question of like, do we want to let her just sort of like live her life in peace, or do we want to like put her through more torment for another movie? So I'm interested to see what it is. I mean, at this point, I'm new movies can come out, and the quality of what I appreciate could be greater or less than, and it really doesn't make a difference to me at this point, because I do have my original trilogy, and I can always go back to those, and anything new that comes out doesn't affect that. And I think that's the beauty of like these franchises, is that you can you have your favorites, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a thing of just like, well, they ruined it, or let's ignore those movies.
Exactly. No, not at all. They're all interesting and good in their own ways, and like you say, we connect with some differently than others, and that's what I love about it. Everyone's list is so different. You could have ask 10 people to put their rankings, and probably 8 out of 10 will be different.
What is your ranking?
Okay, well, this may surprise you. For me, it's 1, 4.
Okay.
4 is actually my favorite sequel. And then I go back and forth between 2 and 3, because I love both of them. Very different movies from each other.
Right.
But typically it's 1, 4, 2, 3, 6, 5. That's typically my order. Then with the one caveat of 3 and 2 could be flipped the next time you ask me. But
fair.
I mean, but I love, the Craven movies clearly are really where my heart is. And, it's not that I don't like the new ones, but it's just, such different. It's so different, and you can tell and obviously it will be different, because Wes is not with us. But that's why I'm like, well, with Kevin in the director's chair, maybe if anybody, maybe he could rekindle the old school Scream feel that we got, and I'm hopeful for that.
Like everything that I was talking about, like this, the essence of what makes Scream good. Because I mean, like I'm on the same page as you. Like I'm not a huge fan of 6. I've said as much here and many other places. 5, I enjoy it, but it still feels like like they're recreating like surface element details about Scream that like it's like homaging, like, oh, look at this and that, but I feel like underneath it doesn't have that Wes Craven quality to it. And that's not to say anything negative against Radio Silence. Like I think that they're very good at like what they're doing in terms of like taking something technically from the page to the screen.
Right.
And they did a really good job. And I really love Ready or Not. I think that that's their best
Me
movie.
too. I do too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. It's a really fun movie. But with Scream, there's something to it that's just like there's a quality missing in the new movies. But that's just a quality that I connect with. Like not necessarily. There's other people who find quality in what is there. So, more power to them.
That's true too. Yeah. They're equally correct. So, All right, guys. Well, listen, we had to get a little scream in before we hit the stream, but
Mhm.
seriously, guys, back to Macabre. This is going to be something that I'm going to be literally counting down the days. And Zach, we talked offline for a bit, and you mentioned maybe November to start filming, right? It's your target. I'm right
Yeah,
here.
so we're aiming for November right now. Like we had conversations today, like I said, about location scouting. So
Okay.
we're gonna try to find the places and get our permission and be able to do the thing that we need to do in those places. But I mean, that's why we're starting now. So we have that nice big chunk of time to make sure we get everything sorted out, and then come time for it, we'll be doing that. I'm going down to the States because we're filming in what will probably be Connecticut. I'm in Alberta,
Mm-hmm.
so those are things that I have to work out. But it's really exciting, and I'm
Yeah.
it's something I've never done before, and it's something I never imagined that I would do. But it feels right, and that's always been kind of like my philosophy in life, that things come
Mm-hmm.
your way, and you just have to take what you're given, and just if there's something that's just aligning right for you, you got to keep going with it. And this has been a risk to take, but it's one that so far has just been very successful, and I couldn't have
Yeah.
done that without all the support of the people who've already pledged to this project. I mean, like, they're very dedicated and committed and have faith in me and my team to be able to do this, and that means the world to me. So thank you to everyone, and thank you to Dale tonight for
Yeah.
pledging. Like, that means a lot to me and my team. And anyone who, after the fact, if you're watching this later, just know that I'm seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thanking you from the past or in the
That's
future.
right. In
Yeah.
the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And guys, do check out the Kickstarter, please. 13 days left. So let's just see how far that we can get that number up for Zach and his
Just show
team.
that poster again. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you
Which is one
go.
of the rewards. Yeah.
That's right. It is beautiful. It is a literal piece of art. It's really great.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous poster, and
Matthew Tarian did an amazing job. Like, I
yeah,
mean, I'm biased because it's our movie, but it's my favorite piece of art that he's done.
yeah, it's awesome. I mean,
Mhm.
when I first saw it, I've said, "Oh, this is like art. This is artwork, man. This is
Mhm.
great." Um, so yeah, guys, it's exciting stuff. You can be a part of it and get those great perks as well as a benefit. And trust me, guys, it's going to be worth it. And every dollar amount counts. All right, don't feel like if you can't donate a certain number that it doesn't matter. It's not true. It does matter. As Zach said, every single amount matters and makes
Mhm.
a difference because nothing, you don't make a film on an island by yourself. You make a film with a team. And that's not only the people with the on set who are on set, that's backers. That's Kickstart folks who we go on there and donate. You're all a part of that, all a part of that project. So
Mhm.
it's something to be proud of. And so, yeah,
It's a good
definitely.
investment.
It is. It
Mhm.
really is. And so, guys, do that, please, whether you're watching this live or, as Zach said, a week from now on a replay, you can still make it count. You still can. So I appreciate it. Well, Zach, it's been a great time. I hope you've had a good time. I've enjoyed it as
Always. Yeah.
always. It's always
Absolutely.
fun.
Mhm.
All right, my man. Well, listen, I'll meet you backstage in just a second,
All right.
and
Sounds
we
good.
can say okay. And for the
Yeah.
chat, we'll go ahead and say good night. Have a wonderful rest of the week. And I will mention one thing. This Saturday, I will have another special guest, Thomas Lorber, who played John Carver in the Thanksgiving film, uh, and as well as Alex Armbruster, who's been on the channel a few times now. Um, Thomas is in the costume about 30% of the film scenes, and Alex is about 70, but Thomas is 30. So I think it's going to be amazing. He has some pivotal scenes that he's in the costume. So be sure and join me this Saturday, the 24th, 8 p.m. Central, and you'll get to meet Thomas, and it'll be his first time on the channel. So it's going to be a good time. So I hope you guys can come. All right. Well, on that note, guys, we'll say goodnight. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and donate to the Kickstarter. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.